Hello, this is part 3. Today we get to bake bread. The first thing we're going to do is to take the dough out of the containers where it rose for the first proof, and we're going to turn it out onto our surface. We have a butcher block table here. You can use a plastic mat or a countertop, whatever you have. And we're going to turn out our dough. Remember when we put this into the bowl, it was about that full. You can see what has happened over the course of less than 24 hours. It's been very warm, and so the dough has raised quickly. We're going to use a bit of flour that I sprinkle onto my surface. In terms of actual quantity, less than a quarter cup. I want to just kind of sprinkle it out here. Then I use a silicone spatula to turn this dough out of the bowl onto the flour. And it'll just come right off, kind of pour out like a strange amoeba. There we go. Now this dough is pretty slack. You see how it's laid out onto the surface? I prefer, over doing this a number of times, to have it standing up a little more. It's wanting to lay down. It's very slack. So this makes it a little tricky to handle. And you'll notice that I'm going to sprinkle the top of the dough with a bit of flour. And I'm also going to put some on my hands because it makes this slack dough easier to handle. I'm going to put this dough into a Teflon fry pan. I never cook with Teflon, but it's really handy for getting sticky dough to come out of the second proof, which is what we're working on right now as we go into this frying pan, to come out of the frying pan and into the fire, into the heavy pots that we're heating up to 480 degrees to be ready to bake the bread. To handle this, I use a bench scraper, which right now has managed to find itself a new hidey spot. Here it is. A bench scraper, there are various kinds. Here's a wooden one. When I first started making bread, I used a spatula, just a simple way of being able to turn this dough. So as we work the dough, we're going to try to turn this into a ball. So I'll use a spatula the way I did in the old days. That might be what you have. But you'll quickly see why using a wooden bench scraper or a metal bench scraper is a better choice. Okay, we're just kind of rolling this onto itself. And I'm getting ready to turn this into my hands. I want the ball to be in my hand. There we go. Now, you maybe didn't notice that, but what I did was to rub my hand quickly on the flour. See how I do that? It keeps my hands from sticking to this dough. Now, I work my hand to the bottom of the dough. I get a nice, fairly firm top on this, and into the pot it goes. There it is. Now it's ready for the second proof. This will not be a long step. It can be as short as a half an hour, maybe as long as an hour. It just depends on what your situation is at your house. But what I have done is to take the enamel pot that has cooked many loaves of bread, put that and the lid into the oven, and I've heated it up to 480 degrees. And we're going to start there on the next video, turning the second proof into the pot, ready to cook, ready to turn into bread.